during the pandemic, I'm looking for things I can do on Zoom because I live alone and I'm not going anywhere. And so I got involved in a group, and I like a lot of spiritual group. I like a lot of what they had to say, but they've had at least three leaders that I know of who are major F ups. And yet they still have their pictures hanging on the altar and all that. And I read them, and a lot of what they have to say I like, but as I keep saying, well, what's wrong with this? Why did they mess up so badly? What's what's either in or not in their writings that didn't work for them.
Or didn't work for you? Did they openly proclaim how something didn't work for them?
Oh, no, I don't believe they did. They got called on the carpet by the Sangha.
3 times, huh? Three the same within that
Three
same
different
image.
people at different times that I know of. Who knows,
Got it.
maybe there were more.
Yeah.
But
Didn't work for their sangha, that's for sure.
well, they weren't following the Buddhist precepts. They were breaking at least two, if not three of them.
Well, there you go. Then you know exactly what didn't work. If they're involved with a group that there's precepts and they're being duplicitous, they're saying one thing and they're doing another. There it is.
But I really like a lot of the this group has a lot of activities online, and I really like a lot of the writings, and I like the people, and it's like, but the but keeps coming up for me. But I mean, that's part of my psychology too. I was raised by an iconoclast, so.
There's a way in which the ground of being is transpersonal, totally beyond anything that is seen or heard or thought about. It's the source of all that's arising. It surrounds everything, is aware of everything, and is beyond any notion we can have about its nature. It transcends everything. And that is the ground of our being. It is what we are at our core, beyond our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, beyond the visual field or the auditory field or the kinesthetic field, anything that is sensed. And yet, and that's usually, let's say, in Indian spirituality, is called Nirguna Brahman, or is called if we're going to use like the level of devotion or of picturing this, is called Shiva. The awareness of everything. And yet, it manifests all of this, including our sense of ourselves and our sense of others. And in that way of manifesting, it can also be related to as others, and ultimately as the self that is all the selves that you relate with. So some people call this the goddess or Shakti, right? But you can also talk about it different ways. You can talk about it as the personal God, because if you take yourself to be a person, you can relate to God personally. And the reason I say unique version is because the way in which that God or goddess shows himself to me is unique in my life. You could call it the divine guidance. You can even call it your higher self. It's a dimension of yourself that is inseparable from the goddess that manifests everything. or that is the manifestation of everything. For each individual being, or let's just say for me, that one in my own life uses any beings that it chooses to lead me further to my truth, to my deepening authenticity, to my continual awakening, to my continual integration. And I listen deeply to that guidance, which mostly manifests through a felt sense of where I am to be and what feels in alignment with the good for me. Not in any kind of objective or necessary judgment about how it should be for anybody else. It's like, I'm with this group because right now with this group, I'm feeling that the good is being served in my own case and I'm deepening and growing. It has nothing to do with anybody else. Nothing, ever, 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 ever. I can't really know about anyone else. And if I could, it wouldn't really help me ultimately because it would all be too confusing. It still wouldn't actually help me in terms of choice. It's kind of like watching a spy movie, an espionage movie where there's double and triple agents, you know, and you don't know who's behind what and where. Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Then you go, oh, it's not bad guy and good guy. There's all these, you know, and it's just like, wow, can't do it. Can't figure it out. Can't peg it. Don't have to. Only need to pay deeply attention to your spiritual guide. Now, I say spiritual guide, I'm not implying that you need to have like a real sense of a particular being. Yes, my spiritual guide is Raphael, the angel. It could be that way. For some people, it does show up that way. For me, it's Padmasambhava, it's Papaji, but I'm very aware that the body of Papaji and the notion of Padmasambhava, as people know him, who is a sage, a Tibetan sage, you could say it this way, it's my version of Padmasambhava. It's my version. It's how Papaji came to me in my life. It's not how other people. And that goes for people who have gurus, who have sex scandals or this or that, or didn't follow that or this. And there's somebody who goes, yes, but the day on December 16th, 1974, when they looked in my eyes and they said, your Buddha nature is absolutely pure, I had a huge Satori, this, that. What, are we going to just discount that? No, they won't. They can't, or it creates great crisis if they don't have this understanding. So in most of the Indian traditions, and in almost all of the, you could say, esoteric traditions in the West, you know, whether it's Sufism or any of the Christian traditions that are influenced by Plotinus, or like, you know, like Christian Orthodox traditions that are influenced by Plotinus, as well as like Gnostics and people like that, Kabbalah, they all talk about emanation. And like, if you look at some of the Tibetan, so you're Buddhist, what kind of Buddhism are we talking about?
Tibetan.
Tibetan, beautiful. If you look at any of the Tibetan iconography, if you have a Yidam deity or a particular deity, like say Tara, sometimes you will find emanations of Tara, and then there'll be somebody with a Tara just above their head, some things like that, right? There's like lineage trees. There's versions of Tara, or Tara will emanate herself in 1,000 Taras, and each little Tara is going somewhere else. Those are unique versions of the primary source. And you end up with a unique version. Like your Yidam deity is a unique version of Tara that no one else has. That's because you continue to be guided in a very unique way that Tara doesn't guide anybody else that way. And that includes going to this teacher at this point and then become disappointed with them and moving on to that teacher and then learning this bit and then going here and then learning that bit. But recognizing it's you and your relationship to whatever name you want to give it. You can call it Holy Guardian Angel. That's a favorite one in occult traditions in the West. Also kind of Catholic. You could say it's the Holy Spirit. It doesn't matter what word you use. But the point is that you have a unique and individual connection. And I say unique and individual, I'm talking about in terms of you as a unique individual. Like, because you're the one who's asking, like, uniquely, I am in this situation. So I'm saying in your situation, whoever your Yidam deity is, even if you don't have a Yidam deity and you don't have a name, you could ask, please help me to continue to be guided in ways that enhance this feeling of integrity I feel, this feeling of at homeness I feel, this feeling of peace that I feel, this feeling of clarity that I feel, all of the kind of virtues that are like universal, that you are naturally, that we as human beings are naturally drawn to deeply. We might do it confused ways, but if we're really clear that what we want is a feeling of well-being and at homeness, eventually everything comes out in the wash. We find the right places to be. But also, I say that knowing that wherever you are, even though it's corrupted in some manner or form, is perfect for you. And in fact, can be just recognized as pure. Once you know everybody's corrupt, purity lies within the way that you relate to everybody, everything. Purity is yours to have, not to be expected from the outside. And I say purity, I don't mean that you have to be like a perfect person, so much as you have to feel the sense of purity in what you do in order to feel integrity, in order to feel like you're in the right place, in order to feel safe. Really to feel safe. So don't ignore your inner bells in terms of this doesn't feel right, but at the same time, recognize that the source of feeling right is within you. So there's a balance there. I'm not really answering what you have to do in your case, but you can be with any community and think that you're in a pure community and be disabused of that notion. You're almost ahead of the game knowing that the community you're in is not pure, because you, again, blessed is he who has no expectations. I'm not talking about overlooking current things that you see that are out of alignment or not working for you. You have to pay attention to all of that within yourself. But if you can see clearly that people are looking with devotion and they're beautiful people, I still might go, I'm out of here. That's too much. It's a bridge too far. But it's up to the person. I would stick to the notion that you follow your internal guidance. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. I love the question. Thank you. Very pertinent.